Welcome to Art Talk from Phillips Mill Community Association. I'm Laura Womack, and with me also is our technical producer, Jen McHugh.
Hi, everyone.
Tonight we're talking with Armando Sosa, a dyer. Sorry, we're going to have a little bit of edit. Maybe Jen, I can do that. Tonight we're talking with Armando Sosa, a weaver from Salcaja in the Guatemalan Highlands. He weaves traditional motifs, whether those are from his native Guatemala or other parts of the world. He's integrating motifs, traditional weaving techniques from around the world. Whether it's a person reaching for an apple in a tree with a dog underneath, or a bird with its wings outstretched, displaying each feather. These are challenging subjects for any artist who engages with detail, but for a weaver bound by the underlying grid of the woven cloth, they are daunting and very greedy of the artist's time. Master weaver Armando Sosa is committed to surmounting these challenges, so much so that he built himself a complex loom that he researched from his native Guatemala as well as from Europe and China. Now he weaves traditional motifs in his own combinations and colors to express his dreams, his memories, and his aspirations. The resulting work show the overlapping cultural influences that have inspired his art. Now, Armando Sosa was, as I said, born in the Guatemalan Highlands, the son of a weaver, and his job as a young boy was guarding the newly dyed yarns drying on the grass of the riverbank and to keep them from being trampled by cows. So, born to it from an early age, and he began spinning yarn at the age of 8 and dyeing them. And at 15, he wove shawls and garments on a simple 4-harness loom. We can talk about what that means. And at 16, he moved to Guatemala City, where he first worked with the compound harness loom. From 1970 until 1980, he exhibited his work in Latin America and the United States. And in 1993, Armando moved to the Princeton area, where he began to weave again, building a total of 4 large, complex looms from memory. Various awards he received include the title Artist of Exceptional Ability from the United States government, no less. And in January 2016, Sosa was named the first folk art master of the state of New Jersey by the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. Armando Sosa, we're so honored to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. That was, it's touching to hear all what you have been saying. It makes me feel very grateful, or even more, of these opportunities that I have in this country with all you, that you appreciate what I'm doing. And I guess when I start working in Guatemala City with these looms, I never imagined that I was going to have an opportunity to show something that I have been doing lately. I guess every piece that I'm making, I have more satisfaction every time, because I can see the reception of other people, that they like what I'm doing. And I guess that's part of the fuel that that makes me, keep going. And thank you for this opportunity to talk about what I'm doing.
Well, that's wonderful. We're glad to share that with you. And we're also very glad to have all of you in the audience join us. Please do join us also with your questions and answers. whether they're technical ones or about the work, put them in the Q&A and we will work them into the conversation. So this is your opportunity also to talk with Armando. Okay, let's jump right into your work. Let's take a look what we're talking about. Jen, first slide up. There we go. Okay, getting into the process, starting off. So tell us what you're doing here, Armando.
Well, before doing that, there is a process of putting all those threads together. I have something that I built, and I have it here at the garage that I use. This is the work that I'm trying to, all the threads that I'm trying to, divide in this kind of rattle. I think it's what do you call in English? I'm not really
It's
sure.
a rattle. That's right.
Yes.
It's a rattle. That's the upright.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there I have the thing that I made here at the garage allows me to put the amount of threads that I'm going to use in this loom that is only for 36 inches wide. But that allows me to put together all the threads and also the length that I want to make all of them at the same time. That's a process of maybe 3 or 4 hours. In that thread that I'm showing there, I have almost like enough warp for maybe 36 yards of weavings. So I make enough like to make maybe 10 pieces at the most, pieces that measure at the end. The width is the same, 36 inches wide by maybe 5 or 6 feet long. So that's what I'm trying to do now, to put those threads in the loom, like what you call dressing the loom.
Dressing
And
the
then it's
loom, that's
4
right.
steps.
Yeah. It's a long process before anybody, when I learned to weave, people said it takes half the time is actually dressing the loom and the other half is weaving. You spend as much time preparing to weave as you do to actually weave. Is that right, Armando?
Yes, yeah, it takes time, really. Yes.
Yeah. So let's go to slide 5, Jen, if we can. So we'll see let's take a look at some of Armando's work, the results, and then we can explore more some of those techniques. So you're working with very fine yarns, Armando, that's right, to get the resolution on the beautiful piece that you have, kite flyer detail here.
Yes. Yeah, it is very fine thread. I think it's number 8, what I use for the warp. And usually I use only one color to put all the warp threads. And then to do the designs, I use different colors, and to make the designs, to show more the designs, then is when I put together like maybe 5 threads together to make the threads in the weft that are creating the stitches that to create the designs. And the why we make the thicker thread is in order to see that like they show more the designs. It's like how do you say, like make a 3-dimensional look of the designs.
Right. So tell us about the work here and what these motifs are that we're looking at.
This is one of the designs that I always love so much, because in my memory I always have that image of the kite flying, especially in this time of the year. It reminds me what we celebrate in Guatemala, and not only Guatemala, and other parts of Latin America, the Day of the Saints. Um, it's some of the changing of the summer to fall, and the cold weather starts. And the image that I'm trying to talk is the image in the middle part of the weaving, that you can see a little boy flying a kite, and that's a memory that I have when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and my father made me that big kite. Uh, the Day of the Saints, which is November 1st, it's almost like a competition in, well, that was years ago, because now the town has been changed so much that it doesn't exist those fields that it was open for everybody to come and enjoy and to do that. I think is almost it's sad to say that this is something that is fading or disappearing. In the bottom part, I try to make this design that has been using so much in some of the scarves that especially men in the highlands, in one town they call Chichicastenango in Guatemala, they use in their head for a fiesta in the town. But this is not everybody do that. It's like very special people who are very connected to the Catholic Church, and I guess they have some kind of a duty in the church, and by then they have some kind of respect through the all the population. And it's so nice to see people with very well dressed and with those things in their head, and it honestly inspired respect and admiration. And to me it also it gives me more satisfaction to see and to make those designs in my weavings. On the top of that is the green part is like almost like a grass or bushes. I try to make that picture of the flying kite with not only that, but other things that adorn or how do you say, to make more a colorful, more how do you say, decorative. And you can even see a couple birds flying, and the top it's the blue and white, kind of simulate like the clouds. And on top of that, those designs remind me also part of those fiestas days in my town when we play with fireworks, or when the procession is going to come, they also uh, uh, you know burn those things for people to admire and make more to feel more festivity those days.
Yeah.
So it's what you see in that piece.
So it's really a story of village life and childhood in Guatemala. And
Yes.
you've taken some of the traditional motifs and used them to represent the physical world, like the grass and the clouds, in sort of an abstract storytelling way. Is that right?
Yes, it's true. Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And then I just wanted, from a technical point of view, some of our viewers may be familiar with weaving and some may not. But I think it's interesting here. You've combined these patterns at the top and bottom that are repetitive. And I think you can do those on your complex loom. You can only do those because the loom is complex. It lifts up a pattern of yarns a long way so that you can pass under the cross yarns and make those patterns. But when it comes to having the kite flyer and the kite, those you have to do by hand. You have to individually pick up each yarn and put the color underneath to make that image, right? So some of this is a little bit mechanized in a very, very basic way, and some of it is the ultimate in attention from hand detail. Is that right?
Yes, it's true. The I guess the principles of this loom comes from looms that have been invented, through uh, generations in not only in Asia but also in Europe and parts of Latin America. That technique is what allows me to do the designs that you see in the bottom and also in the top part. But in the middle part, with the same loom, I can also make those designs using the technique that is very well used in South America, especially in Peru and Bolivia. In Guatemala, we do that too, but not as much as these other countries do. That's in advance, or that's a, how do you say, that it's something extra that this loom that I made has, that you can combine those two techniques to create something like that.
Right. Okay, terrific. Let's go to the next slide. It's also a detail shot. Arte circus detail. Do I have that
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Armando, tell us about this piece.
About this piece, it has almost the same. It has the combination of those two techniques that I was explaining from the previous picture, but you can see the bottom part. They have some continuous from the edge to the middle part, where the middle part, I'm talking about the bottom part, the part that you can see in white, it's hard to see it with the colors that I use, but it almost looks like a silhouette of a woman, like with a big dress and a big tail that goes from the middle to the both sides. And then the like a brown part, it's well, still using the same technique, but I guess this is a third way that I can use this loom to make a different kind of stitches. And on top of that, I create on those two designs, the one that you can see in blue in the right side and the orange in the other side. There is a silhouette of a character that has been used in some of the weavings, especially in France. And the girls with the green dress are like the ballerinas, and the ones that are like in the square are another performers that they are, that's why I call this piece circus, because I was inspired with these designs that I saw in one of these books of Arte, many. I have one of those, and it just inspired me to continue to see those designs that it's sad to see that everything is kind of disappearing, and especially with all these new things that we have mechanized or electronical or computerized, that is, it doesn't have the same feeling, it doesn't have the same. I guess you can create with those, with those equipments, even better designs than this. But when you see things that have been made by hand, you can appreciate, I guess, in a different way. And in the top, in the very top, you can see another, like a queen dress. Unfortunately, it doesn't see that much in this picture, but from her skirt, inside of the skirt, the skirt forms like a cage, and inside, like besides her legs, there are like a couple birds inside of that cage, and behind her are two gentlemen that are holding her, or a how do you say it, like walking with her to the stage. And but because the designs comes small in my loom, even in the design for something like this, is the design that I'm making using the graph paper, it's almost like almost yard and a half, and it comes only like a in the loom, in the weaving, comes that big, like maybe 4 inches. So you can see the brown images around, beside her are the gentlemen that are walking with her to the stage.
Right. Very nice, Armando. We do have some questions from our audience in the Q&A. We thank you all very much for participating. Jen, I think John has a question.
Yes, John said from the slide, the material looks like a linen. Please ask Armando material he uses to make his weavings.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for asking that. It's yeah, it's the technique that I use in that weaving that looks that way. But what I use is basically cotton, is mercerized cotton in the warp, and then for the weft, or to create the designs, I use cotton, but also a little bit of silk and some like rayon, which is not a natural fiber, but those are the threads that enrich the design. It gives a little more color. But that technique of making the background looking like that is what it makes to look like a different weaving. But it's basically cotton and silk and rayon.
And all of those are a bit shiny yarns, generally speaking.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mercerized cotton is shinier, generally speaking.
Yes.
Okay, Jen, and we've got a question from Nora.
Yes, Nora asked, are the designs completely planned out before you start, or do you improvise parts of the weaving while you are making the piece?
Pretty much I have like a plan before I start the piece. Definitely every design, I use graph paper to create the design and use like a pattern in my loom. Sometimes during the weaving, depending where I'm, how far in the piece I'm going, sometimes I think, well, maybe not the design that I was having in mind, but maybe this other one is going to work better with maybe this other color. But pretty much I definitely make a little project before I start the piece.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Armando. I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about the technical aspect of it. And I've thrown Jen a curve. I want to talk just a little bit about the loom itself, how the structure of the cloth is created. So I've sent her a web page from the Hand Weavers magazine. And Jen, are you able to share that? And we'll show people, Armando, a very simple loom, a tapestry loom, so people can just get an idea of the two different cross sections of yarn. So as they're looking at your complex patterns, it's in your, it's emailed. And if not, I can try to share it. We'll show people the way the structure of the cloth is on sort of a large scale, and then they can understand a little bit the fineness of the detail that you're sharing. So, and Jen, thanks for bearing with me. I always try to give her something new to do each time, so it keeps her on her toes. And she loves it. Here we go. Okay, if we scroll down, there will be a second image, one more. There we go. The one above that. Okay, there we go. Tapestry loom. So here, Armando, if you don't mind, I'll just say quickly, you can see these long yarns that are going up and down. Those are the warp yarns, and then you create yarns that go across that, and that creates your pattern, that creates your cloth, and you can add extra yarns to give patterning.
Right.
Would you like to add anything to that, Armando?
Well, I think this is I guess is what we start with, and we still have been using to create pieces of weaving. But this is totally what do you mean? What you want me to talk about this loom?
You don't need to talk about this room. If there's something you want to say about it, since I threw that in there, I want to make sure people understand how we're talking about creating cloth, so that they know these are very large yarns, and therefore you get these, you see the detail of the fabric. Whereas in your work, having the small yarns, you don't see the details of the fabric. You put in extra color, and then that's how you start to get the kite flyer, the nuns, like that, right?
Right. But even in this very simple loom, you can, I mean, depending of the creativity of the person who is doing something like that, they can still use the technique with this loom, the pickup, which is actually picking up the threads to create a design. But I guess they also have to have a pattern to follow. Like, for example, if they want to make a bird or, a doll, they can create the, the graph paper is a very, very good tool to create the designs and go from there to use as a pattern in the weaving.
That's right, to plan out how you're going to lay out the yarns. But you can see that the grid that you're creating as you're weaving is very rigid. You can't just put your brush down anywhere or your yarn down anywhere. You have to plan and build that fabric. You have to plan it in advance to put any patterning in, okay?
Yes.
So let's go back to the next slide, Jen, and talk. And so now people can have that context for seeing your work. And we'll take a look at your next detail. There we go. So now you could see in those very large yarns that we were looking at in that small loom, here you have sort of the other extreme, which is very fine yarns with a lot happening, and the complexity and virtuosity of what you're accomplishing, Armando, is a very high skill level indeed to get this. So now please tell us with that context about Allegria folklorica. Please correct
Yes.
my pronunciation.
Yes, no, it's fine. You said it right. Well, you can see with the previous loom, I was gonna say that even you saw and you can count the amount of threads that they have in the warp, and the mathematical part in there is when you divide and what threads you're gonna use to make the designs. In this loom also has to do a lot of that. The threads are very fine. That across, this is a piece that I made in my small loom that only allows me to weave 28 inches across. But given that the threads are very fine, I have a 36 inches, 36 threads per inch. And the combination that I have in this loom, see the top part, the zigzag design. I have 45 harnesses that allows me to weave. If you point from the left side, I'm talking about the zigzag design, from the top to the middle part, those are the 45 harnesses that I have. But the design repeats itself in the opposite direction. So you can see that these threads are coming this way and then go the other way, and so on, because it's the same pattern that I have in the loom. So I have a total of, in this loom, of 49 harnesses, 4 which are the basic ones that allows me to weave the plain weaving, and 45 are the ones that allows me to do this, to create the designs.
And
So
Armando, I'm just going to jump in here for a second, sorry, to explain a couple of weaving terms. So the plain weave is the ground cloth, and it's there's no pattern in the structure. It's just the yarns go across each other.
right.
Then the harnesses allow you to pick up different threads at different times, and that's what allows you to make the pattern. Now,
Yes.
for my community of weavers, we're happy if we have four harnesses or 8 harnesses, we can get a little bit of pattern. To have, how many did you say?
I have a total of 49.
49. It's almost like having a computer controlled loom, because you can pick up so many different sets of yarns to create different patterns. And that you built that loom, that's a very complicated machine to build. Is that right,
Yes.
Armando?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a picture here, but I don't know if I put it in the front. Can you see it? No.
Uh, let's give it a try.
Okay. Like this.
There you go. So that flat surface that we looked at in the picture of the loom that I showed has now become horizontal, and his hand is reaching over to these harnesses that are picking up. Hold it up a little bit higher, Armando. Picking up, yeah, there we go. You can see the yarns going across, and then these bars with strings coming down are picking up different yarns, so that when the thread crosses underneath, you'll see different yarns at different times. I think next time we'll have some diagrams.
Yes.
Jen,
But you can see the
is
45 that allows me to make the designs are the 45 that has this metal part holding them.
yeah. Yeah.
And 4 basic ones are the ones that are behind them. Those are the ones that I use to for the plain weaving. But so you can see already part of weaving in the bottom part here. So every design is made basically like a stitch by stitch. But that stitch, I have to use the plain weaving at the same time to weave the part, to lock it up, the stitch.
So the plain weave, which is the simple grid of yarns,
Yes.
that provides the structure and the security for the pattern that sits on top and is tied down with just a few yarns at a time. I
Yes.
think that's about the clarity we're going to get right now, but let's just all agree that it's a very complicated pattern and difficult technically to achieve on its own, and to build a loom that can accomplish that is even more of an accomplishment as well. So let's go back to, we've got a question from Jim, and I think that'll take care of our technical discussion, and then we can go back to the pictures of fabric. How does that sound, Jen?
Sounds good. Jim says, once the pattern is made, does it repeat as it goes across somewhat automatically?
Pretty much, because the loom has that combination that I play with 45, but as you can see in the weaving go up and down, up and down, it's the same 45, it repeats in the opposite direction. Like I'm talking from the left side of mine, you come to this part and then the same weaving repeats, but in the opposite way. And go on.
Maybe if we, let me see if I can help here, Armando. So if we're looking at this picture of Alegria folklorica,
Yes.
if you look at a horizontal line across the weaving, you have to pick up a certain yarns. You have to pick them up in that the long way, and then pass across threads to go across. And each line is different, and that's why you need 49 harnesses to pick up different yarns at different times for each line. And so you can repeat something, but it's not automatically. You have to make decisions of which of those 49 sets of threads you're going to pick up. So,
yeah, and especially in this piece, you can see 2 designs at the same time. That part, it has like the chevrons, and the other part, it has the gold design, like a lyra. And if you move it a little bit more up, you can see the little girl jumping rope in that same road. So in this piece also is weaving like 2 designs at the same time, because you can see the lyra, the little girl jumping rope, and then the chevrons. So it's using different threads, different colors of thread, and I have to create one design. I have to use the same strings once, and then I have to change to create the other design. So that's why it takes so long to create a piece like this.
it takes a long time. Wonderful. Thank you for explaining that, Armando. And let's see our next textile. And we welcome your questions in the Q&A. Okay, so now we're getting even more complicated. Antigua 2?
Yes. Yeah, Antigua 1 is in England. A friend of us bought it, and it has almost not exactly the same designs, different colors, different designs also. But yeah, this one, it looks a little more complex according to the designs. In this one, you can see, like in the bottom part, you can see like bushes or plants, and after that is where it takes double the time, because the border is the one that you see in turquoise. It has one design, but the panel in the middle, it has a different design. And there you can see the a design that has a tree, but under the tree is a person with one hand trying to pull a fruit from the tree. You move to the
Oops,
other,
we slipped. There we go.
and then with the other hand, he's holding a dog that is, looking. Yeah.
So what made you choose to do these images in this piece?
I guess is satisfaction that at the end of the making the piece, to see that I was able to make something that I was dreaming, and to see that my loom really works the way I was planning.
Right.
And these are designs that unfortunately has been fading more and more, but I love to make them, and to someday I'm leaving this earth, but leave something that like you people appreciate that so much, and then to have those designs to continue, and maybe somebody else will come with the same idea of leaving something for the future.
Right. You have higher up, you have these birds, again, quite a lot of detail, and the girl is jumping rope. Is there a special significance, Armando, with the girl jumping rope? Before you
Yes,
had the boy flying a kite. These are themes of childhood and nostalgia.
yes, yes, yes. Those designs, in many of the weavings, I'm trying to put them because it's something that I grew up with, and something that it gives me a lot of pleasure to see in pieces like that.
And that piece looks more European. Like we're looking at your beautiful shirt, which I think is very traditional Guatemalan,
Yes,
with different motifs on it. It's a different techniques, which we won't go into. But this piece that we just saw looks European, and it surprises me a little bit to see that your work has that flavor, that orientation.
yes. I love so much to play with designs from all over, that we are humans, we have been able to create with, the time. And you are correct that design looks very European, because um, many years ago, I created a piece for a lady friend who is a weaver in England. And when she went back, she sent me a book as a gift. And this book has many beautiful photos of tapestries that are at museums in Europe. And some of those designs, like those peacocks or the tree with this man in the bottom, those are designs that I have seen in some of these designs. But like I say, I want to leave those to continue, you know, giving us pleasure to see, because I don't want to talk that I'm doing such big work, but something that looks beautiful to continue having, and in life.
Yeah. A lot of people now are talking about, I'll paraphrase or characterize it as maybe staying in your lane, staying in your cultural lane, weaving your own culture, but you don't feel limited by that. And uh, do you ever think about that concept?
No, I don't think so. I think that humans are humans, and whatever we are, if we have the desire to do something, why we have to limit ourselves with something that no, I don't think so. I feel that as long as they don't have like a patent or that you are prohibited to reproduce or something like that, I'm not doing exactly the same thing. I'm trying to create in different pieces. That's why every piece that I weave, um, I want to make one of a kind piece. Every piece is different, but
And you're
combining.
bringing different influences into your work. Then that's who you are, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Let's see slide 10. These are beautiful colors, and these almost look Mediterranean to me. Not that that means anything at all. Yeah, oh,
Right.
Asian Mayan harmony. See, there you
Yes.
go.
Yes. Asian, I saw a piece some years ago. I went to the museum in Philadelphia, the Museum of Art, and I always like to buy books with different uh, motifs of, especially handmade pieces, and especially the piece of the circles. That was a piece maybe like the side of a door, and that piece was very wrapping a king in Asia, in China, more than 3,000 years, they say in the book. But when they brought that piece outside of the you know where it was buried, uh the piece was almost like already, how do you say, it was in pieces. I'm sorry to say it that way, but it was already raped. Some pieces were already disappearing. But I saw the design that I like it so much. But in the middle, you see the part that looks in lilac.
Yes.
Those are design. That's a design of one of the Mayan motifs that I like a lot of the Aztecs. That is a figure of a what we call Kukulkan, which is the Mayan serpent. They call part of
Mm.
the body is like a animal, like this serpent, and the top part is like a human. You can see the face of the human. If you see only one, you can see this the part of the of like a man, and then in the head he has like some kind of a um, something to adorn him, or to embellish, or how do you say, like when you dress for something special. But then the bottom part is, it doesn't look totally fine here, but you can see like a part of like a snake. And that motif of the besides that design of Kukulkan, in the top of that, there is in the circle a a, a human profile that again it repeats in front in the opposite direction. So those are designs of trying to combine the Mayan designs with the Asian motifs. And the bottom part is also part of the that I have seen of the weavings in Asia. And but again, now this is another combination of motifs from different regions, from Latin America and Asia.
Yeah, that's marvelous. Um, we have just a little bit of time left. I'd really like to get to slide 12.
Okay.
The colors in this are really lovely, and it looks to me like you're you're changing the flow of the background color, which
Yes.
again is challenging, but so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's a beautiful piece also. But again, it's what it takes a long time to create the different colors of the background. And not only that, but also in the designs, like the grass and the flowers, you can see the different colors. And again, is using the same technique, the using the 45 cornices, but again using the pickup, like the birds in the top, like these flowers, a little rabbit here. So it's a pleasure to do something like that.
Yeah, and the pick up the birds, that's done by hand, whereas the repetition patterns are done with the loom harnesses that are picking up the yarns for you.
Yes.
So, Armando, also I'm struck in your work by your sense of color, and I really think color is cultural. Um, do you agree with that? That we get our sense of color from place? I've done a lot of moving around, and my sense of color has changed as I've moved. But what do you think?
Um, I honestly have a lot of pleasure to play with them. Not that I know what color in some of the weavings when I'm, uh, trying to see some books. They even said, oh, they use this color because this color means this and that, and I almost don't put attention that much, but I love to combine something that it gives a nice reception for people.
Are you referring to color combinations that come from Guatemala or another place in your different works, or are you coming up with new combinations of color
I
that occur to
guess
you?
I guess those are totally new combinations.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's a lot of the fun, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It's for me my loom is almost like the canvas of an artist that they create, whatever they have in mind with different colors and play, and at the end they have that pleasure and satisfaction to see something that they were dreaming to do or planning to do. And for me, my looms are that, something that at the end when I see a piece finish, it gives me a lot of pleasure.
Yeah, it gives us a lot of pleasure too, Armando. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Armando Sosa is a master weaver from Guatemala, and we thank him so much for sharing his time with us here on Phillips Mill Community Association's Art Talk. Our Jen McHugh is our technical producer, and Jean Mihich is our managing producer. We're working on something for you for next month, but we've had a change of guests, so please consult phillipsmill.org events, Art Talk to see what's coming to you next month. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Have a good evening. I'm Laura Womack. Armando, thank you again. People are leaving now, and it's really nice to see you. Can I come see you?
Please
Maybe
come.
in your.
please, please come. I'm usually at the studio on Sundays in the afternoon, Mondays and Tuesdays that I'm not at. I have to have my regular job. But I'm just working from Wednesday to Saturday. I'm doing picture framing in this place.
Ah,
The free time that I have, I go to the studio and use my looms. And for me, it's a connection also with my past,
yeah,
like a connection with my grandfather, with my father, with my relatives, who all of them were weavers in this town. And yeah, it's please, you are welcome, and anybody who would like to come the doors are open there.
Thank you so much. We'll call in advance, but
Okay.
we'll come see you, Armando Sosa. You've been so generous. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.